Okay.
All right, so good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for your time. I know your time is valuable. I'm Lafayette Hamilton. I'm the executive director for the Pride Foundation. So our goal is really to help people develop. I mean, whether young people or older people. So we created this series with Molly because she has a lot of great information when it comes to professional development and personal development. So we try to do these once a month just to help people to get out of that rut that they're in. We understand, the work environment is pretty tough. Navigating your career is pretty tough. My interest is really in the younger generation, like 17 to 21, because quite frankly, the decisions that you make between those ages really affects the rest of your life. So we try to provide some resources for our young people, and that's what we're doing here. So thank you all for being here, and Molly, go ahead, take it away.
Sure. All right. Thanks for having me, and thanks for calling in tonight. My intention with this class is to give you some understanding of how your mind works and how your mind is kind of controlling behind your actions and your results, so that when you're feeling things like burnout, or you're at a plateau, or imposter syndrome, you start feeling these phenomena inside of you, like what's going on in the mechanism of your brain, so that you understand it and you can intercept it and you can take leverage and change it to accomplish your goals and get the results that you want. I'm going to do this with diagrams. So I'm going to draw out a little stick person, and it's going to represent us with our mind. I'll show you. All right. Does he fit on there? Okay. This is my very simple person. All we need to know are the conscious mind, the subconscious mind, and the body. This is just for diagram purposes. I'm in no way saying the head and the body are different. This is just a diagram. So you have what's going on in your mind, and then you have your body, and your body takes actions, and then it gets you results outside of your ecosystem. This is all your ecosystem, and then you take actions in order to get results that are outside of your ecosystem. And then connected to your conscious mind, I draw them as antennae. You have 5 physical senses. So your internal ecosystem is connected to the outside world only through what these sensors detect. Just like if you built a robot, it wouldn't know anything around it unless you gave it sensory data about it. So these senses are connected to our conscious mind, which means that we can think about the data that streams in from these sensors. And so the first thing that the conscious mind has to do is down select data, because this is an overwhelming amount of constant information throughout the day. So the conscious mind, in order to form thoughts, throws away data that it doesn't have a place in its model of its identity, and your identity is held in your subconscious mind. But there's places in your identity for certain amounts of facts and information. So whatever fits in that model of you and the world, your conscious mind takes that out of what your senses perceive and puts it into your model and your identity. And then you think about those. You have all these thoughts going on in your conscious mind. And as you spend time dwelling on those thoughts, they become impressed on your subconscious mind as your identity. Once something is in your subconscious mind as your identity, it's the subconscious mind that controls the body, everything about the body, the way you speak, the way you perform academically, the beating of your heart, growing your fingernails and your hair. All of these different behaviors are controlled by the subconscious mind. And so our way to affect how all of these things happen is through the thoughts that we choose to think that create our identity. So what happens kind of by default or accident is we have these results outside of our own ecosystem as a person. They're in the outside world. And we make the decision or choice to use our 5 physical senses to observe those results that are outside of us. As soon as we make that decision, or by default don't know what else to do, we've created a feedback loop. And now we're stuck. We've made it a conscious choice to take the outside results and feed them back in to the thoughts that we're thinking about ourselves, and which by mechanism create our identity. And now we're defining who we are by what's outside of us right now. And we're limiting it to what we can see right now because we're using our 5 physical senses, these sensors, as a source of input for our thoughts. So, and you might want to change your results, and you recognize that results come from actions that you're taking in your body, and say, well, my actions are mostly habitual, so I want to change my results, so I want to change my habits. Then we go out there and we try to change our habits. We try to wake up earlier, eat differently, show up and speak to people differently. And that takes a lot of willpower, and that willpower goes away really fast. That is a limited resource, and you reach the bottom of that well really fast. And you end up getting back to the same results. So we want to break this feedback loop. And the way we do that is we stop making this choice. We stop choosing to use our senses to look at our current results and use that as our input for thought. And we create a new input for thought. We design it ourselves, create it from scratch. It's never existed before. We call it a goal, and we make it up. It's outside of us, just like the results in the world are outside of our ecosystem. But we start to include it in our ecosystem by making the choice to consume our thoughts and focus our thinking, our thoughts. Let me make this thing a little closer. To put our goal in our thinking. As over time we persist and we're dedicated to focusing our thoughts on the same goal, not a whole bunch of different goals out here and out here and out here, and changing it all of the time, to picking a specific one with a lot of detail and feeding that into our thinking, that becomes impressed on the subconscious mind as our new identity. And as that identity commands the body to take actions in the world, the body's going to take different actions, and you're going to get different results until your results are the goal that you wanted. And that is your place in this system that you have leverage to interrupt and change your actions and your habits in order to get different results. And the discipline that it takes to do that is a discipline of thought, to focus your thought at a different source, and to ignore, if you have your results, your old results in the outside world, and you were to use your senses to look at those results, they're going to conflict. You're going to have conflicting thoughts about who are you? Are you the person who does what you always used to do? Are you the person who's achieved your goal? And so if you don't have this mechanistic understanding of how things are driven in you and what's going on in your thoughts, that feels like chaos and stress and anxiety, and you don't know what actions to take, and you don't know if you deserve your results, or if you want your goal, or if you can have your goal, or if you're stuck with your results, or if you should just work harder on your habits. This sets up this whole chaos. So I like to just really start with this flow of cause and effect, that thinking causes your identity. Your identity cause your actions, and your actions cause your results. Your results only affect your thinking if you choose to think about your results. If you choose to think about your goal, or watch a movie, or do something different, then your results aren't causing your thinking. You've been able to interrupt this. So now that we've kind of like set up this ecosystem here of cause and effect, other things that are going on within this is you have this set point, like I start with my X and Y axes, so this is so you have your set point of your current results. Now this set point in like in speaking with the neuroscience and biology, like by the age of 7, your brain has absorbed information around you. Like before the age of 7, you don't have the ability to choose what you're thinking of. You don't have the ability to choose whether you're using your senses to look around or to choose to look at a goal. That's why kids have imaginary friends. They mix up reality and imaginary in their head. That system in their brain isn't solid yet. There is not a big distinction, and so they play pretend, they make up stories, and it's a mix of fantasy and reality because their brain is still figuring this out. And while they're figuring that out, they're collecting a whole bunch of data around them about how do we act, about their identity, really. And they're getting it by the identities of people around them. Are the people around them stressed about money? Are the people around them healthy and take good care of themselves? Are the people around them treat other people nicely? Are they scared of other people? And they're going to just adopt these things without any ability to gatekeep any of that out before the age of 7. And that's how we get our first set point. Then we start going along with like behavior, and if these are our results, say right now, like it's your income level, and you have an income of 100,000, and that's just where you're stuck, and you're trying to work harder to make more money. And so you work harder, you put in a lot of hours, you make a lot more calls, you work harder, and your income goes up. Then something happens and it goes back down, and then you're like, I'm not this guy. This is like 3 bad months in a row. You're like, I'm not that guy. I'm not that person. I am an earner at this level. And something kicks in and you pull yourself back up, and this cycle keeps going on and on and on. So what's happening here is at these points, you've deviated from your set point so far that even in this, you're still employing this feedback loop of looking at your results. And now your results have deviated from where you want them, where you're set to be. Now it's deviation, it's not a plus or minus. Your brain's just measuring absolute value. Am I at the set point? No, I'm too high, I bring it down. The actions of bringing it down look like self-sabotage, and the actions of bringing it up look like fantastic, excellent worker. But the mechanism in the brain is exactly the same, saying, I'm not on my set point. I'm not living my identity. I need to change my behavior. And so something kicks in and changes your behavior. So what happens at these points is people recognize that something has happened at these points, and they go out and they look for a bunch of data about what's happening right here and right here, what changed, because they want to replicate this and they want to avoid this. So they go out and collect a bunch of data that's specific to these points. And then you get a bunch of data that's actually nonsense, because there's nothing special about these points at all. What really happened is you hit a point where you deviated so far from your set point that you're using your thinking to down select data from the world around you using your 5 physical senses. And now you're far from your set point. So the mechanism already set up in your mind continues to down select the data even more and says, I only want to see opportunities in the world around me that will pull me right back down to my set point. Don't show me. Your thinking is telling your senses, do not show me opportunities to go up more. Up more is the wrong direction. Only show me opportunities to pull me back down. And the same thing happens here. It says, I'm down too far. Only show me opportunities to go right up. And so now you're lucky, your phone calls are getting returned, all these things are happening, and you think, oh, I need to know how to repeat this. But what's happened here is your thinking, your identity is doing for you, down selecting information from the outside world that's always been there, and it's only showing you going up direction. So what we want to do when we understand this mechanism is stop gathering data specific to these points. And when we're gathering data specifically, like to either of these points, when people are looking for this kind of data in their life, it looks like them being hard on themselves. Like this looks like the self-talk is like, we suck, like you better make this happen, you need this, work harder, all like this is beating yourself up in one kind of way, and this is beating yourself up in another kind of way, being like, why couldn't I have done this 2 weeks ago? Why am I not like this all the time? Why am I lucky now? Why can't I get these results all these times? So we beat ourselves up over these specific things. And so what I want to give you as a tool to act on differently now that you know this mechanism is when you feel yourself starting to beat yourself up. Beating yourself up is just running this feedback loop, letting it stay looping. What you want to do instead is say, hey, I'm starting to beat myself up, which means in one area of my life, because there's a whole bunch of different results that you want, but in some area of my life, I'm far from my set point. So when you start beating yourself up, instead, get really curious about the source of the thoughts that are asking you to beat yourself up. Be like, why is it so bad that I'm off of whatever result it is? And you'll know from like your source of anxiety. And if you want to practice getting answers from yourself, because your mind knows all of this. It knows what specific result, it knows what the set point is, it knows how far off you are, it knows why you're scared of being off that much, and that's the information you want to get about your own program, so that when you design a specific goal to combat this, you can be really specific about that goal to negate the programming that's in there. So you start asking yourself questions about, why am I being hard on myself, or why do I think this is so bad? And you can write those questions at the top of a piece of paper, and then just sit with your pen, pick your pen up and hold it in your hand and sit and stare at the piece of the paper. And with your body language and everything, with holding the pen, your mind is like, oh, I'm answering this for you right now. And that's good, because usually when we're like, at these points, we're asking ourselves questions of like, why do you suck so much? And your brain's like, oh, I will answer that for you right now. And it'll just make up an answer. And it's not true, right? But that's the answer you ask, and it's going to give it to you. And then you're going to use your senses to believe that answer. And so just don't ask yourself different questions. Why does this result scare me? Why is this stressful? Why do I feel like waking up early or working harder is going to solve this problem? And this too, like to go back to the mechanism of how some of these things work. Those kids like under 7, they don't have a set point yet. They're developing their set point by observing the people around them. When they hit these boundary points and some behavior changes and things drive these different directions, they don't know anything about this set point. So that's how you get it in the first place, is you watch the people around you freak out and say like, and then everything's good until you hit here and everyone around you freaks out again, and you don't know why, but that program's right in your little kid before 7-year-old brain that this is the set point you need to be around, and when you're too far from it, things are going to change and happen. So let me see my next picture. Okay. Maybe I should stop for questions. Everybody good?
Yeah, it's fantastic. It makes complete sense, honestly.
Okay, awesome.
Molly?
Yes.
Well, never mind. You just erased it.
No, I can put it back up. I'm good at it.
I just tried to write it down as fast as you said it, but you gave the loop from cause all the things that cause and then getting what effects?
Oh yeah, so the cause and effect, it starts with your thinking. Your thinking causes your identity. Your identity causes your actions. And your actions cause your result on the outside. Like everybody can see that, so everybody kind of knows their habits cause their results. And then the choice that we have to make is, do you use your senses to observe your current results and use that to feed back into your thinking? If you do, you're in this feedback loop and you're stuck. But it's a choice.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so a little more about the brain specifically. And I know it's like cloudy to call the difference between the brain and the mind. I wish I understood that better, but like we as a scientific community, there's stuff about life we don't understand. So using the brain from a place of motivation of fear is, you're born with that ability. That is in a place in your brain, like your amygdala, it's your lizard brain. And that forms very early in life. And that lizard brain is connected to your 5 physical senses, so you can use them to look for snakes and danger and fires and run away and have control of your body from a place of fear. There's another place in your brain, your prefrontal cortex, and some other places in your left and right brain that also can connect to your 5 physical senses. But those are things that you need to deliberately make and exercise those connections. They're not free evolutionary things like running from snakes. Those, so learning to operate your brain and use your physical senses from a place of security and creativity and innovation is different than operating from a place of fear. And so you can't practice running in fear or scanning the environment in fear, get so good at it that you can now do it from a place of security. They are different wells, and that well of fear is where that willpower comes from, and that dries up. Like it doesn't dry up, but you can use it up. You use it very quickly, and it goes away, and now you have nothing to draw from. You're exhausted and you're burnt out. The well of creativity and passion taps into a whole lot more resources in you as a person and in your ability to interact with other people, that you can get a lot farther from that. But you have to practice jumping out of fear and into safety, and then operating your body and your senses from a different place of your brain as safety. And that's where practices like meditation practices come in. That's what we're doing. If you're sitting on a cushion, lotus style, wearing all of the right clothing, listening to the music, and you've eaten organic all week, and you sit on your cushion and you go through your to-do list, or you stress or worry about money or wonder about anything out of the current moment, you're staying in fear. And anything you're doing from that point, you're practicing and you're developing muscles in fear. So a meditation practice, and that doesn't matter. Like there aren't shortcuts of cushions and clothes and organics. You have to sit and put your thinking, exercise your discipline to choose to think about something exciting, your goal, and you make it up. Make it up as a movie scene that you can watch in your head. Remember something from the past that was just awesome and bring that emotion into the present. That's what you're doing when you're sitting on a cushion or closing your eyes in your meditation. If you practice using your brain from a place of safety, that meditation is counting. That is adding to strengthening the muscle that you want there. Same with other practices of people do affirmations, and so they'll stand in front of a mirror and say, I am. And if you stand in front of the mirror, I'll just use weight because that's a really easy example with a mirror. If you stand in front of the mirror and you look at yourself and you're like, I'm too heavy, I don't like how I look, and you're like, all right, I'm going to say my affirmation is, I like how I look, I'm beautiful, I'm the right weight, and you affirm it 100 times, but you don't believe it, and you're saying all of those affirmations from a place of fear, saying, I better do something that works, I better figure this out so that I can be better. All of those affirmations are strengthening your fear. They're strengthening the current set point, and they're strengthening your tether to the current set point. So you boomerang right back to it as soon as you make progress away from it. To stand in front of the mirror and say affirmations from a place of security is to understand the mechanism we just drew, to understand that your primary job is to think thoughts that are unrelated to what you can see with your 5 physical senses. And when you persist in those thoughts long enough, by the same biology that you got your current set point, by the same mechanism as how your brain has always worked, it will change your identity. Your actions will change. If in the example of weight, the foods that were bad for you and you won't even want them because they're not part of your identity. Looking that way isn't part of your identity. Eating differently, having different cravings is part of your new identity. And so when you stand in front of the mirror and your 5 physical senses are not showing you what you want to see, but you do those affirmations from a place of faith and understanding and security of understanding this mechanism, those affirmations change your identity. And those affirmations, if you continue on them and you exercise your discipline to continue choosing to put your thoughts on your goal, those affirmations change your results in the outside world. And this is something measurable. I like measurable things too. So your nervous system, you have your fight and flight and your rest and restore. I'll use those terms. So you need to be able to switch back and forth between fight and rest and restore. Like, the goal is never to evolve beyond your fight or flight or anything like that. You need it as an alarm system. So the example here is like, if you put your hand on a hot stove, you want your 5 physical senses, you want your fear brain to say, hot burns me, burn is bad, and take your hand off really fast. Like, that is a fear response that you need to have. But what most of us do instead is we put our hand on the hot stove and we say, there's a hot stove here. I better lean on it with both my hands forever so that I remember there's a hot stove here. And if I take my hands off, I won't know where the hot stove is and it could burn me at any time. So I'm going to keep my hand on it, right? That's being stressed about money or something and saying, oh, okay, nobody's actually pounding on my door right now. I don't actually have to pay a bill right now. It's 3 o'clock in the morning right now, but I'm going to stress about money. That's saying there's a hot stove here. I'm going to stay up in the middle of the night and just lean my hand on this hot stove so that I remember that it's here, right? Like, that's your fear brain taking over and not letting you get into rest and restore. So you need to be able to switch back and forth between the two. And we can measure this in what's called heart rate variability. So when we have your heart rate is like 65, 70, whatever. It's not a metronome set at that. As you breathe in, your heart rate goes up a little bit. You go a little bit into your fight and flight side of your nervous system. As you breathe out, your heart rate slows down a little bit and you go a little bit into your rest and restore system. This is why also we do breath practices, help you tune this ability of jumping back and forth between the two of them. It's because you're dwelling in these breaths and exercise, practicing switching between the two by focusing your attention on your breath. And the reason it does is there's reasons having to do with like the heart pumping. There's two pumps in your body. There's your diaphragm that pumps air, and there's an air pressure in your body, and there's your heart that pumps fluid. And so there's a blood pressure in your body. And since your lungs take up a lot of space, specifically where your heart is, then as you breathe in, you're changing volumes, and so your blood pressure and your air pressure are related, and it's really important to keep consistent blood pressure, so it changes the rate your heart beats, so that you're not changing your blood pressure with every breath. And we can measure this on wearable devices now. So if you look at your heart rate variability, so it is a very different, it might be a number in the hundreds, like over 100, and high numbers for heart rate variability are good. And that means that there's a big difference between when you inhale and when you exhale, that you're easily moving back and forth between the two sides of your nervous system. And low numbers are bad. That means you're stuck. And it doesn't really matter which one you're stuck in. They both have badness associated with them. You being stuck is not the way to go. So we can kind of measure this, and what's really cool about it is you measure it in real time, because you're breathing in real time, and the devices will measure this. So in your meditation practice, you can watch your HRV, and you can test yourself or confirm to yourself that you're not sitting there in fear saying these affirmations better work, I really need this, or else everything's going to be bad. That you're doing them from your place of safety. And so I just like to let people know what's measurables. So when we had our little sine wave going up and down, and you have your set point, what we do by accident when we don't understand the mechanism is we try to change our actions, and we end up just slingshotted right back to the set point. And what's going on there is the brain is filtering to only show you options to bring you there. To move the set point is to spend time in your thinking at your goal. So I won't draw it out, but you can think of it as the scales. If every thought, every moment of time, you're either using your senses to look out around you, and you're confirming your current identity with your current results. And Joe Dispenza calls that using your brain as a record of the past. Or you can create a brain that is a map to the future by spending time in your goal. And it changes the physical architecture. We also have ways, we can't do it with an app on your phone. You have to go to a study. But we do have ways to show that you're changing the places that are making connections in your brain, and where oxygen is going in your brain. That's how it's getting its electricity, and its power is by your breath. Gives oxygen into your brain, and then your brain either puts it in your lizard brain or it puts it in your human brain to do lizard things or human things. And so you're making decisions to continue by focusing on your goal, to signal your body to send the blood and oxygen going to your brain, to your human brain, to use it to create things.
Hey, Molly, can I ask a question, please?
Yes.
Did I miss it? What is the lizard brain?
Oh, like your limbic system. It develops early in. It's a specific place in your brain. It's common amongst many animals, and it's your fear responses. It allows you to run from danger. It doesn't allow. It keeps you surviving and alive. It doesn't help you write computer code. It won't help you paint or do music. Just look for snakes and run from them.
Okay.
And it also makes the assumption that every rustle in the grass is a snake and you should run from it.
Got it. Okay. Thank you. Oh, wrong button. Thank you.
Yeah. I went really fast.
When you were talking about HRV, I was looking at my heart rate the entire time, like checking out the log and stuff like that. I was like, oh, it does move a little bit. That's fun.
Yeah. Yeah, I have an app on my phone. It clips onto my ear, so it gets like a really accurate heart rate. And I played around with this, of course. So I like clip it on when I'm watching television, like something with like a fight scene or something, and I can watch my HRV just plummet really quickly, just plummet. Like my body's in stress. I'm sitting there on the couch, so cool. And then my body thinks that it's in stress, and we know a bunch of things that go along with that from like the scientific data, like your immune system is compromised, like a whole bunch of stuff, like creativity. So when I work with companies too, like you cannot have a staff full of people who are going to create and innovate and work cohesively as a team when they're all in fight or flight. It doesn't happen. And you can't motivate people through layoffs or budget cuts or fear, all these ways, shame, like all these ways that corporate management traditionally has used to motivate people, because you cannot strengthen the fear muscle enough that it bleeds over into the safety muscle. They're totally different. And so some of this too, since I went really fast, I'll go on to like a whole new topic of like quantum leaping. So we think of like a quantum leap as going really far from where we are. So if we have like, let me make sure I'm in we have like our set point here, and we're going like up and down it, our whole life like this, and we want like this set point. And so we set a goal to do that, and we just at some point just stop going there and start going here instead. And the way you do that is by changing the thoughts that you're thinking. And the thoughts that you're thinking are unrooted in anything physical at all. You created them. You made them up. So this gap here can be as big or as small as you can conceive of for yourself. There is no easy, it's not like you could make a halfway, like let's do this instead, and we'll jump halfway here on the way, and then it'll be an easier transition. No, you have to cease seeing yourself this way. You just stop using your senses here and start creating something that you made up. And there is no intermediary step. So even when we see people taking small steps with their business, all right, I want to linearly grow my business, I want to linearly change my health and things, you're restricting by the own rules that you're making up for yourself, you're restricting the size of this jump. And we know that doesn't have to be. Well, there's business examples of people that just blow up in business. So we know that, and we know medically for your health and in terms of your mind controlling your body, we have spontaneous remission of deadly diseases, of terminal cases of cancers, spontaneous remission. And when thousands of them, and when they're interviewed by these people looking for what's going on, this is what they did. They changed how they thought. They changed the entire story that they were telling themselves. Not just how they see their body, but why they're alive, why people like them, what is their purpose. They changed the entire story they're telling themselves. And one day they wake up and they've been doing that long enough that their identity has changed and their body has changed their actions. And just like your body can change, like if I told you speed your heart rate up right now, you'd be like, I don't know how to do that. But if I put a snake out in front of you, obviously I'm scared of snakes. That's what I use in all of my fear example is snakes. If I put a snake out in front of you, then your body speeds up your heart right away. I could put an electric bill in front of you and your body will speed up your heart right away, right? You can't just instruct it to do that, but you can prompt it to do that by different thinking.
Yeah, that's very, very true. Very, very true. And then also, thank you again for reminding me about the target set points too. That's very handy.
Oh yeah, I think we've talked about the thermostat. That's a good example for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's
So-
very true. It's kind of like that's just basically it's like you figure out what you want to do and just do it, like straight out. Just go here. Okay, cool. I'm gonna go plop, and you just do it.
Yeah.
And then after so many times of just doing it, it becomes the new normal, and then the leap has been made basically.
Yeah, and then your new identity's there, and then if that's your new homeostasis, you can turn your 5 physical senses back on at that point and just look at your results, and you'll stay in that feedback loop as long as you want to. But once you understand and you've done it once from understanding what you're doing, and then you have a new goal and you see a new thing out there, you're like, oh, okay, I just interrupt the loop here, jump myself over there, and you can repeat it in every domain of your life.
Mm-hmm.
So I would recommend it.
That's fantastic. That is very, very cool, and very well explained too.
Thank you.
You're like, Psh, I know, no big deal.
Well, I think I thought I would, what I did in 36 minutes, I thought would take me an hour, so I've probably been speaking a little quickly. But it's okay, there were diagrams. It always helps to have
yeah.
pictures.
Just 100. Yes, exactly. Yeah.
The information is well received. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Or should I?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's Val said she had to leave, so yeah.
Yeah, it helps a lot when you draw it out around a common point and just draw that sine wave, because it's a lot easier to just digest the information and everything like that, and it makes it, I guess it makes it more real for you to hear sometimes, which is kind of nice.
Yeah, cool. I know my examples for it are like from my old corporate life, but I did data analysis, and they would identify these points, these high and low points, and obviously they want to maximize and are curious about this, and so the data that they collect around these points, I was realizing, was completely arbitrary information. Yes, it's related to this point and it co-occurred with this point, but it's the effect of being at that point. And so analyzing it, you get stuck in this analysis process, and if you're operating from a place of fear, it doesn't help either. But the information that we were collecting and the way we were comparing it, saying this point must have something similar to this point and must be different from this point, was leading us in to draw obscure conclusions. It's like unguided machine learning. Like if you just gave machine learning a bunch of data and no rules about what the data means at all, it would give you back with like 100% certainty a result like you are going to die on a day that ends in Y. Like 100% certainty, right? And all that happened is you gave it all your data in English, and all the days end in Y. And so but the machine learning algorithm doesn't know what's important and not important, or a cause or an effect or anything, or what is related or isn't actually related. Don't even look for a connection. And that's what we're really doing here.
Yeah, it makes complete sense.
I get it.
So I'm so glad you guys joined in and got to see these stick figures.
Yes, most definitely. Yeah, I saw a picture and I was like, oh, I gotta check that out live. That's good stuff.
Yeah, I was trying not to laugh at your stick guy because I thought I was bad.
Yeah.
Drawing stick figures.
It's you don't need a lot of detail in it though, so that's lucky
Yeah.
for me. I picked
No,
a
it's
really
wonderful.
easy concept.
Yeah. As long as you got the point across, that's what matters. So yeah. I'm still fascinated by these bananas I keep looking at. Oh my gosh. All right, so I've been trying to scan this thing, your healthcare thing.
Yeah, which one are you trying to scan? The one with my face on it, or the black and... Oh, never mind.
No,
That one, that's my card right there. And
Okay,
the other one goes to my website.
Okay. I've been trying to catch it every time it comes around. Let me.
Oh, okay, I gotcha. We'll just stick on that one for fun.
Yeah, give me 1 second. Let me take it.
I'm so stoked I can come in and support you, Molly. That's awesome.
Yes, thank you. And always good to talk to you and see you too. You guys too, Nick and Lafayette, should have a conversation. I'm sure you would just have a great one. You know, whatever it was about, and it could be about many different things, but whatever it's about, I'm sure it'll be a great conversation.
Okay, I got you.
Most definitely so.
I got you, Nicholas. I got you.
Right on.
Okay,
Right
cool.
on. Thank you.
Cool beans. No worries.
Yeah, the beans are very cool. Yeah. Yeah, but it's super cool to just, you know, and it's very interesting, like when you go through that process, like I've found like what helps me remember when I go back into those, you know, feedback loops you're telling us about and everything like that, you know, you go back into that conscious kind of thought, and for me, I kind of organize it like I'm walking down a hallway and my choices are in different doors, right? And you can kind of go down that door and you can see what's in the door, but if you want to find the root of where it is, there's a ladder that goes down to the root, and you got to go climb the ladder to go down to the bottom to figure out where it started. And then once you figure out where it started, you can then modify, you know, said behavior, so to speak, to then, you know, cause it to essentially like sink in the mud and become permanent, which is kind of fun.
It's a good image.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, and whatever image, you know, like whatever the story is, these images and stories, they help separate us from the behavior. Like we understand we're like the program and then the programmer, like the hallway and the person walking down the hallway. Like if you think you are the structure, if you think you are the behavior, you've lost a position of leverage to change it. So whatever kind of story to just continue to remind yourself, you're like, I'm not the actual program I'm running through.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And especially when you get caught up in, you know, any sort of feeling or emotion or anything like that, you know, it's like a tornado kind of, and you're in the eye of it, so you can't see you know, what's going on around the tornado until you become conscious that there is a tornado, and then B, you're able to remove yourself from the situation and be like, oh, that's a big tornado. Probably should do something about that. You know? That's very cool.
Yeah, or that's a small tornado. I can't believe how big I thought it was when I was inside of it.
Yeah, exactly, right? Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You know, I always think that things are not as bad as you think they are. You know, it's that initial shock. And if you take a few minutes and calm down and really think your way through it, you realize that for every problem, there's a solution. You know, I learned that a long time ago. So just don't get overexcited. I mean, that's just human behavior anyway. Something, you know, presents itself and you're like, oh my God, how am I going to deal with this? You know, but if you calm your nerves and just relax, and even sometimes you have to walk away, you know, take a couple of deep breaths, go for a walk or something, and come back and really analyze it and say, okay, it wasn't really that bad. I could do this to resolve it, you know? So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's good because it's especially good to listen to stuff like this as well, because it kind of cements the awareness, if that makes sense, because it's like your subconscious is like, yeah, that exists, that's a thing, and your conscious is like, cool, and just like goes on something else, you know, and then bringing it into the forefront to be like, yes, that's right, this exists, and then those two pictures can match up, and then it becomes a whole truth. And then after that, you can then, you know, separate yourself from it and then adjust it and play with it, which is kind of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. Well,
yeah, that is super awesome.
Outstanding, Molly. Thank you. We haven't heard from Mom.
Mom, you good? Did I go too fast?
Holy crap, that's your mom? Whoa.
My mom.
Why do you say like that? Like, whoa.
Like, just now dawned on me. Just now.
Brown is a common name.
That's true.
Yeah,
I was like, why do they call the random lady mom? And I was like, holy crap! You know, yeah. Oh, okay, I get it now.
Yeah, I think Val had enjoyed it, so I'm gonna send her the video. I'm going to put the video. I always put the videos up on my YouTube channel, so I will make sure that everyone has access to it if you want to go through it. Yeah. So, is that it, Molly, or do you have more that we need to go over?
That's it.
Okay, great. That's what Okay, cool. All right, so thank you all for being here. I do appreciate it. Thank you, Molly. I always appreciate your insights.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, all right, Nick, I connected with you, so
Yeah, man.
we could have a chat one day or so.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
Be super duper fun.
Okay, cool beans. Thank you so much. Thank you all for being here, and thank you again, Molly. And you'll have a good evening.
Thank you. Bye.
You're absolutely amazing. We're looking forward to a chat.